Welcome back. So it's time to do the update, and again, it's very simple. So let's just start again. I started out with just preparing in the controller the actual setup we need from the web API point of view. So now we have the put request right here. We can pass in an ID from the outside being passed into this guy, and we can pass in a genre from the outside that's going to be passed into this guy. And the first thing I want to do is I just want to do an if statement and say if the ID you're passing in right here is not the same as the ID you're passing in from the genre, you're doing something wrong, man. So I'm going to return a bad request right here, just to kind of guard myself. And I'm just going to write ID must match ID in JSON object. So there we go. Just to kind of tell the guy who's using this, I'll show you this later, but I'll tell him that this ID right here needs to match the ID you're seeing inside the genre, or else I will not process this for you. And I'll explain why later on. Then we're going to go to the service and create a new method. You guessed it, it's called update. And there we're going to pass in the genre right here. I'm going to just create that method inside the interface first. And here we're going to pass back the genre that was just updated. Again, you can pass anything back, but I'm really normally just into passing the actual genre back when I got an update running. Now again, I'll just step through it, just finding the files this time. I'm going to genre service, and here I need to do an implementation. There we go, we got the missing member. We'll just return the repositories, and let's just call it update here as well. Update, there we go. We'll pass in the genre we want to update right here, and then we'll just kind of go and create that one inside the genre repository because we need it there. There we go, and that means that again we have to kind of implement it. And I'll just go to the old version here that I'm not using and just implement it as not implemented. There we go, so now it's not going to fail anymore. And then go back to the new versions we're building, this one genre repository, and there I'm actually going to go and create it as well. So let's just import it right here, implement missing member. Now how do we do this? Well, first let's just save the entity again, because we'll use that in a second. So I'll make a local reference for the entity, and I want the entity to be called by using _context.genres.update. This time we'll call an update. Now the update needs a genre entity again, so I'll do a new genre entity, and I'll do some couple of curly brackets like this, and then I'll pass in the information I need. Do I need an ID? Yes, this time I actually do need an ID, so I'll take the ID, I'll take the name, I need the name as well, genre.name, there we go. Now this is the stuff I want to update right here, and the final thing is, again, I want to end up by calling the entity, so I have the entity that was just updated right here from the database actually. Now when that is actually done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to return the updated version. Now I could just return the genre here because everything should now be stored. But I want to instead actually return the new entity's data if something else was added from somewhere else. Maybe somebody else updated it before I did or something. So I'm actually going to return a new genre right here and passing on the data again. And I know that might be overkill, but again, it's to be sure that nobody else changed this while I was actually executing this new code right here. And there could be reasons for that, and we can check those out later. But that's all we had to do, except for one thing that I'm always forgetting, and that is save changes. You need to save those changes, else the query will not be executed. So of course I need to call this when this guy is actually ready to be saved. That's it. So let's just try and restart our service right here and see if we actually also have an update now. So we have full CRUD all the way down to the database for the genre. And I'll go and fix all of that for the videos as well in my own small spare time, and then I'll show you guys in a single video later on. So we're going to do an update, and let's just try and put 1 here. I want to update the genre with ID 1, and I'll pass in 2 here because I made a mistake. I pass in the object of 2, and let's just write drama here. So by mistake, I pass in another object than the one I want to update, and let's just see what happens. I try and execute. Now you'll get an error back saying bad request because ID must match ID in the JSON object. And what I did right here was kind of protect myself in the controller, saying if you're sending in one ID here that's different than the ID you're passing in here, I'll throw that bad request just to be sure. It's just a small guard to be sure that you're putting in the same information here as here. So let's put in 2 both places, so it's 2 and 2, and I'll just do an execute. This time the update will work. So if I kind of refresh and get all genres now, let's try it out and execute, you'll actually see that now this is a drama. If you didn't remember, before that was actually comedy. So let's try and change it back to comedy. Comedy, there we go. That's not how it's spelled, but I can live with that. Oh, it is? No, it isn't. I don't know. Here we have the comedy now, and if we go again and execute, now you'll see there's comedy again. Happy days! That's how easy it was to do full CRUD using the NT framework. Now there's a lot more to learn, so we'll dive more into this. And before we end the video, let's just have a look at the actual update right here. It says update genres, set the name. That's nothing, I don't have anything else to set. From parameter 0, this parameter right here, and where the ID is parameter 1, this ID right here, and then in the end select the changes and return them to me so I can see the changes. And that was why in the end you guys saw that down here it actually returned to me that the changes was now set to comedy. So that's it for this lesson. Now you guys know how to do full CRUD, and then next lesson we'll just have a look at how we can add it to videos as well, and then we'll start adding relations and DTOs, and we'll start protecting our code a lot more than what we've done so far. See you next time. Bye.